Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy! Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Order ahead, drive-thru, or get it delivered.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Welcome to Sea Hotel California.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. It's really good, I assure you. The line wrapped around the Monroe building, the Monroe location, as I was driving back from the car wash on Wednesday, Corey. It was good to see. Good to see the Denzians of Tallahassee pouring into Zaxby's to get themselves probably the best fried chicken under the sun. So,
I think you mean denizens?
Denizens. What
I think it's denizens. You said Denzians, but we knew what you meant. And
okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, up here in Georgia, and obviously everywhere, really, Zaxby's are overloaded. But up here in Georgia, it's great. Every time I go up to the one near me, I have to wait in line for 12 minutes. Not because they're slow, because it's almost out to the street. It's almost out to the main road. That's how many cars are in the drive-through.
I'm gonna tell you the truth because you're my friend. I don't like lying to you. The reason why it took me so long to record today was I have acquired an Xbox One video gaming console, and man, I used to play Xbox all the time, but I haven't played it like in 10 years. So I'd been looking for it far and wide on Craigslist. Apparently Facebook Marketplace is the place to buy used goods, but that's neither here nor there. Some guy was offering it for like $200. I'm like, hey man, I'll give you like 150 or like 120. I'm that guy. Just coming in lowballing everybody. And he's got to do 150. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So I put $150 in an envelope, and I also put in a coupon for a free salad and a coupon for 5 free chicken fingers from Zaxby's. And the guy never even sent me a follow-up. Like, hey, man, thanks for the free food. I appreciate that. And for a minute there, I thought he sold me a bum lemon Xbox because I had to download this game that my brother and all of his college buddies are playing again for the first time in like 16 years. And I would go to the park to work out, or I was taking a shower or whatever. And I kept going back into the living room to check on the status, and it was always turned off. Like the Xbox kept shutting off. I'm like, oh, great. And he sold me a remote for the Xbox, but there's no battery in it, too. So that's why I'm not nice to people, because then I get burned. But it's okay. The Xbox actually has a setting where it automatically turns off. I'm talking too much about this. Why don't you ever save me, Corey? You just let me sit here and ramble and just watch it happen. Why don't you step in?
Look, I feel like I do most of the rambling, so when you get off on one, I would feel bad about saying, Aslan, come on, man, nobody cares about this. But because I think that would be rude. So I didn't say that because I'm not a rude person.
All right. But it does work. Everything's fine. Played about an hour and a half with my buddies. Went a little too long. But
there you go. Nice.
Let's talk about Florida State athletics. But first, one last thing. Norvell 2020. Use that promo code, folks. It expires August 15th. Shout out to Evan McCool. He listens to the podcast. He listens to the live shows that we do, whether it's recruiting or you and I, Corey. He finally signed up. P:09 or 99, I think he said, is his username. But gives you 25% off an annual membership, $25 e-card to Garnet and Gold, and then 3 free months tacked on top of that. It's like $70-something, and you get 18 months and a $25 e-card to Garnet and Gold. It's pretty remarkable. Norvell 2020 is your promo code. And speaking of Norvell, we did speak to him on Wednesday. We will speak to him again Thursday morning. It was transfer. They should have saved it for Thursday. Alliteration in myself, Aslan the alliterator. Transfer Thursday would have been a nice sort of ring to it, but they threw out most of the transfers to us. Well, we had Devontae Love-Taylor, Jarian Jones, and Fabian Lovett, formerly of Mississippi State fame, and Jordan Wilson. tight end from UCLA, which, hey, man, what a fortuitous decision to transfer to Florida State. Although he said that he thought that they might not play football because of the whole association or unionizing that they were kicking the can about over at the Pac-12, but that happened well after he left. But good for him. He's going to be able to play football this year, right? We're going to play football, right?
Absolutely, buddy. Hey, like I said, we are now 29 days away. I'm just going to keep counting it down until they pull the plug. Yeah, we're 29 days away. By the time people are listening to this, it's August 13th. We're playing on September 12th. So, hey, buddy. And I feel like really is if you get to September 10th, I don't want to say September 11th, but if you get to September 10th and it hasn't been pulled yet, they're not going to cancel it then. So you got to make it to like 2 days out, and then you're good.
All right. I still think we're going to play, man. I still think we're going to play. I just don't know, I don't know how they could walk it back. But anywho, so we spoke to the players. First off, Mike Norvell, we had him for a little bit over 10 minutes. It was good to see him a little bit rejuvenated or a little bit more jovial and jocular and playful. He's been a bit stoic the last few times we've spoke to him. I don't know if it's just getting back into the groove or maybe he wasn't all that happy with what he saw at practice. I think he's relieved sort of after the whole political theater that went down in the IPF on Tuesday. I'm sure that I feel like that probably gave him some confidence that the season's going to be played. But I would think maybe even more than that, although that helped. I think the Big 12's decision to at least, I guess what did they do? I don't know if they ever had a schedule set, but they're going to start on the 26th, just like the SEC. But according to them, they're full speed ahead. They even came out with new parameters and protocols for their testing where they're adding heart monitor stuff and EKGs to the testing as well. So I think that's the thing that really gets them rejuvenated. That like, okay, there's three of us now. We're not walking alone. There's three of us. They all seem committed for now to keep going forward. So yeah, man, I think he was fired up about it. 70-something teams that are still alive. Vying for 4 spots in the playoff, although I really don't.
Well, the Big East just postponed. Oh. That was done on Wednesday night. But again, I can't tell you who's in the Big East. I don't even know if they have teams. I don't know that they play football, but like I know they play soccer. So all that and volleyball, all that's been postponed.
Right. Okay, so Mike Norvell, again, I thought he was a little bit more upbeat, a little more. I mean, he rattled off. Shout out to us, our X Factors. He called both of them out. Our under the radar guys, Warren Thompson, which the practice video shows him putting it on a 5-star defensive back, just really clean, smooth route, no shot in coverage. So Warren Thompson looked good. Warren Thompson was pointed out by Mike Norvell. Quayshawn Fuller, the guy that I discussed a few times, apparently has been having a pretty strong camp as well. But this is a good thing, it feels like. I don't know if we asked Willie. Willie was always a little bit sort of coy about what was going on at practice. But maybe this is who Mike Norvell is. Maybe he really doesn't go full Jimbo like, we look terrible. I can't believe we have a football. I can't believe we're on scholarship. This is terrible. He rattled off, it feels like, a dozen players that he was pleased with.
Yeah, well, and Jimbo would only do that once a fall. He'd do that once in August at some point. Say this is awful. We're a terrible team. They practice like this. They're going to play terribly. He would always have the venom once, at least once. Yeah, you're right, man. Willie would never give you anything on any players. Like, he's looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good, or he's got a ways to go. I think it's refreshing. I also think it helps the players if they know that their coaches notice and are publicly giving them credit. And Norvell certainly doesn't worry about kids' feelings one way or the other because he was going to let us watch practice. So, like that play where Warren Thompson beats Akeem Dent. Well, we would have written about that. You know what I mean? So go ahead and show that. I can guarantee you the last two regimes, they might show a kid making a catch, but they wouldn't show it against someone. You know what I mean?
Right.
In games, you're out there, you're exposed. Everybody can see you. They have replays, so you might as well get the players used to it now. And I did like that he mentioned names multiple times. He mentioned all 3 running backs. He mentioned Warren Thompson, Fuller. I think he's mentioned a couple of times. He also mentioned Steven Dix, and who was the other linebacker he mentioned? Oh, who was the other linebacker?
DJ Lundy.
I'm having a blank. Yeah, DJ Lundy. So, I mean, those were unsolicited almost. He's just like, yeah, these guys played really well. So yeah, I think that's encouraging, number one. But I also don't think it's like coach speak. I think those guys played well, and maybe that's why he was in such a good mood, because so many guys played well. Stood out at least. It's hard to say they played well, but at least made flash plays. The very first person he mentioned was Big Coop.
Do we still? Somebody made a good point. Like, do we still call him Big Coop? I mean, not the 330.
He's 330, man. Now, come on. Yeah, were we going to call him Small Coop?
Well, yeah, I mean,
he still classifies. He ain't a mini Cooper.
Like Coopy Coop?
No, he's still a Big Cooper for right now.
Okay. Just asking. Hey, I probably should have started with this before we dove into all the interviews, but we don't have a lot of concrete details on it because it has been deleted. But DJ Matthews tweeted on Wednesday night that he had tested positive for COVID. The tweet,
you buried the lead.
Yeah, the tweet has been deleted. I wonder how FSU is going to handle this, because they're one of the teams in the conference that has not been disclosing their testing sort of results or whatever. So it will be kind of, maybe we'll have to ask them, I don't know, like what receivers were out there. And I don't know if there's any way we can kind of ask it to not upset him, but also get the information. It's an important thing, right? I mean, like, to figure out what this means for the team.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's, I'm sure that I doubt DJ was lying. So I'm sure he was telling the truth. And I'm not a huge fan of somebody calling him and telling him to take it down. You know what? It's his life. It's his Twitter feed. It's his life. It's his body. It's his sickness. So if he wants to tweet about it, I don't know that Florida State has any standing to say, no, you're not allowed to take that down. Be like, all right, well then how about I don't play? Like, I don't like that. Like, if a personal player wants to say that he has it, I get why the universities wouldn't release it, HIPAA and everything. Yeah. But Florida State, Notre Dame released, I think they had 116 tests over the last week or 2 weeks, and 2 players tested positive. So those are good signs. And as far as we know, DJ's the only one that has tested positive, but Florida State doesn't release that information, so we wouldn't know. I think moving forward, that might be something that has to change. It has to be released to someone, maybe not the media, but people within the team in the conference need to know. They need to know those numbers. But you have to figure if DJ's tested positive, well, he's around a position group. So how many of those guys did he come in contact with? Who's his roommate? You have to assume, if they're following the protocols, that people are quarantined. We don't know how many. And again, I don't think this isn't panic time. Like, oh gosh, DJ Matthews got COVID. We know this is going to happen. Like I just said, Notre Dame had 116 tests
17.
in their football team. Was it 17?
Yeah, 117.
Not just 17. That would have been a lot. That would have been a big difference.
Right. 117.
And two positives.
Yeah.
So those are great numbers to me anyway. We'd rather it be 0, but 2 out of 117 isn't bad. But they're following the right protocols, and they're releasing the information. Not releasing who got tested positive, but they are releasing it, what the numbers are. So with Florida State choosing not to release that, and then apparently telling DJ, "Hey man, take that down."
Do we know that? Do we know that?
No, we don't.
Safe.
We don't. He might. You know what? A teammate might have told him to do it.
Yeah.
A teammate might have been like, and I'll be honest with you. If I was a 21-year-old college football captain, and we just went through 48 hours where it looked like our season was on the brink, that they were about to pull the plug, and then on a Wednesday night, one of my receivers is like, "Hey, everyone, I got COVID." I'd be like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" Right. We're trying to get to We're trying to get to September 12th, buddy. So you're right. I apologize. I don't know that Florida State told him to take it down. It might have been a family member. It might have been a teammate. He might have done it on his own. But yes, these are going to happen. There are going to be positive tests. It's a matter of quarantining, isolating, making sure there's no spread, and because it's going to keep happening throughout the next, we hope 3 months.
I just do wonder how much contact tracing and isolation they are going to do. I think it'd be
easier though. It's so much easier.
You have to test the entire wide receiver room. You have to test the entire defensive.
Well, you're testing everybody anyway. So yeah, maybe you expedite that, and instead of them get those wide receivers test, so let's say they all got tested on Wednesday, which they probably did. He might have been the only one in the wide receiver group that tested positive today. Well, you test number one, anybody that's been in close contact with him, his roommates or anybody else, and this is for anyone, not DJ Matthews specific, because there are going to be dozens upon dozens of college football players that test positive. You quarantine them, you quarantine their roommates, and then you test them again in a couple of days, and then a couple of days after that, and then you know the spread. I just think it'll be easier to contact trace when it's confined to a football team, obviously. But when you're really only worried about the 100 guys in that room getting it.
Only 100.
Well, right. You know what I mean? But it's not like you have to go to, if DJ walked into a convenience store or something, you don't have to go test everybody at the Circle K.
Yeah.
I was about to make a really rude comment about Circle K, but I pulled back. In fact, I was telling Stephanie today, because we were driving by a Circle K up here in my neck of the woods in Georgia, it looks like a palace. It is a wonderful looking gas station with a brick outside. We talk about brick and mortar. It's legitimate brick. It's got a fast food restaurant connected to it. It's all clean. It's big. It's well lit, and it's a Circle K. But in Tallahassee, oh no, they dim it down so the snipers have a perfect shot. Anyway, sorry, I'm not going off on a tangent again about the gas stations in Tallahassee. I promised myself I wouldn't do that.
It's interesting. Somebody responded on the thread with, "I hate social media. I seriously hate social media," is what the person. I mean, just I guess hate the messaging system, not the message or the messenger. Also,
but I don't think. Like, I get it. I get why, like, say a teammate asked him to take it down, or DJ thought better of it. It's like, nobody needs to know this. I don't think the nation, I don't think the people that we worry about, a president, you have to imagine John Thrasher, John Swafford, David Coburn, other school presidents aren't going to be like, oh my God, DJ Matthews got it? Shut it down. They have to know, not because it's DJ Matthews, he's not important enough. It's because they know that kids are going to get it. These guys are going to get it, just like the rest of the world is getting it. It's just a matter of isolating it and stopping a spread. That's what you're trying to do. So I don't think that's not that huge a deal at all that one person got it. If 18 people get it, it's something bigger. But even then, Clemson had literally was it 38?
That's what I was going to say. I'm like we haven't established a number. And I guess maybe that's the whole part of this thing is to be ambiguous, intentionally ambiguous and vague. But what number does get people scared? And that's a rhetorical question. I don't want to dive too far into that. Bimini Bound, friend of the program, actually puts on there, Clemson had 47 players that tested positive total. I can't confirm that.
Well, and we have no idea what Florida State is. Right. Now, we know that Baselli has come out and said he had it. Yeah. We know that DJ came out and said he had it for about 12 minutes. There's obviously more than that. They've had more players test positive. I think most of the schools around the country have had more players test positive. But, number one, you certainly don't know where DJ got it, that he got it necessarily from football practice or a football team meeting or anything like that. But, yeah, I mean, it's, not to be, not cynical is not the right word, but.
Alarmist?
No, I was going to say
try to find the right word for it.
It's I appreciate it. It's just not coming to me. There's a callous. There you go. I don't want to be callous, but
you're not callous.
You don't want that. What you're really concerned about is, like I said, September 5th. That's when you're concerned about the positive test, because you go through August. They're going to be more. He's not going to be the only one. There's going to be a lot of kids all across the country. They're going to have to be sitting out for extended periods of time. You just want it to be limited to under 10, under 8. You don't want a huge outbreak where you'd have to cancel a game. I don't think the ACC is going to cancel a season, even if Florida State has 26 kids that get it. But you know what I mean? I think they'll cancel a game. But
yeah,
if Florida State gets 26 and Clemson has another 50, and then NC State has 39, and then BC has 27, then you're starting to really worry about things. But right now we're at 1, and we don't even know. Maybe his buddy got a hold of his Twitter. Maybe he was hacked.
I mean, we're not putting a report up with this information in there. Ira does say that he has heard that there are multiple players that are also being quarantined.
Right, which is the natural order
Right,
of things.
Right. So, again, I mean, I really don't. I'm not the silver lining optimistic guy, but I guess maybe this at least gives you an idea of the spread. You know, if you're able to actually only maybe have one or two other positives out of this, it's kind of a scare you straight, and it's nothing too severe. But it's just one of these things where this team can't afford to have guys miss time trying to learn this new system, try to get ready for a game. I mean, you mentioned we're less than 30 days away from starting the season, so that is a bit of a bummer. But then I also don't know if the ACC and Florida State are going to follow the protocol that the NCAA laid out, where if you test positive, you're 10 days. Remember, it was 10 days if you're positive, 14 if you were in direct contact. And again, listen, I mean, and it's honor system, right? Like if Akeem Dent went one-on-one with DJ and tackled him and brought him to the ground, that's considered I forgot the adjective they put on it, but there's a certain level of contact that would make you fall into that 14-day window. Like, yeah, if you tackle and hit a guy, that falls under that. And they had their first full padded practice, but I just wonder. I mean, it's an honor system, right? I mean, who's going to come and tell Mike Norvell, like, give us your film? We need to look at everybody that he interacted with that day. Just many questions.
You've just got to be smart about it, and I don't mean smart like keeping it a secret or not letting the world know about positives, but for their safety. You do have a testing lab on campus, so what you would hope when a player tests positive, maybe you ramp up the testing for the next week, and don't make everybody wait till Wednesday to get tested again. Assuming that test day is Wednesday.
By the way, kind of odd to brag about the fact that you have an on-site testing facility at your campus and you're only testing people once a week, though. It's kind of like having a sports car, but you only drive at 40 miles an hour. Like, it's.
Well, yeah, if you have the testing lab, I know they all cost they all cost money to conduct, but yeah, if you can turn it around within 24 hours, I would be testing as much as possible. That's that would be effective, not cost effective, but just effective to limit this.
Well, they're testing once a week. I think Coburn said they're going to go to twice a week once the season starts. SEC is going to be doing 3 times a week.
Yeah, I think it can't be once a week. I know that twice a week is better than once a week. 3 times seems perfect. I think that's what the Big 12 is doing too, and that's the number. You do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday, Wednesday, Friday, and go from there. But I certainly don't think that the receivers in that room, I can't imagine anybody on offense, but it's certainly not the receivers. And like you said, maybe a DB that goes up against him more than others or his roommate. You can't be waiting until next Wednesday to test them. You would test them. And we don't know how long DJ had it. If they're going once a week between tests, he might have been he might still be asymptomatic, and he might have, for all we know, he practiced yesterday. Look, folks, we don't get to watch practice because of what's going on, but you could go through the footage and see if he's there. And he might have been asymptomatic this whole time, and just found out he had it, but didn't know he had it, and maybe he got it a week ago or 9 days ago. I mean, we don't know.
I feel like we should ambush Ira right now, and call.
Just call him on the phone. Hey, Ira Schafel, wake up, Warchant here.
Hey there, boss. Can you go on the record right now? I want to talk about what's going on with the DJ Matthews guy. All right, back to the interviews and the players, and I'm sure. Somebody will ask, I'm sure, Mike Norvell on Thursday morning about DJ Matthews, and we'll see how uncomfortable Mike Norvell gets.
That's the problem. I hear what you're saying, but you can't get uncomfortable about this. Do you want to play or not? Because if you want to play, you can't try to poo-poo every question. I haven't used that in a phrase in a long time. I don't even think I used it correctly. It's back, but I don't even think I used it correctly. You can't squash every question about COVID. That we want to play, so you have to be transparent and you have to tell people what the plan is in place. You can't get mad at people asking about this. We all want to see college football. And to see college football, we want to make sure that there isn't a COVID outbreak on the team we cover. So, of course, we're going to ask him about it. He has to know we're going to ask him about it. He should probably come out and say something ahead of time before he even takes questions. But, yeah, man, we do our job. I want to know what even if he doesn't want to tell us who is quarantining, tell us how many people are quarantining. What is the stat? What is the what's the word for it? What's the parameter for quarantining someone? Somebody in the room, somebody that tackled him. That's all we want to know. Like, how do you handle this in season? And he can't. He can skate around it all he wants, but those are legitimate questions.
They are. We'll see if we'll get answers. I mean, to me, man, so much of this is like tone. I think David Coburn has like struck a good tone to all this. I think he obviously realizes the financial ramifications if they don't have a season. He does want to have a season, I feel like, but he's not like he didn't go over the moon about Ron DeSantis being there and everybody being all on one page and hashtag let him play. It was like, hey man, we're gonna give our best shot and we'll see what happens, sort of a thing. And watching Hard Knocks the other night, seeing the way that, like Anthony Lynn talked about it, the head coach of the Chargers, I guess he obviously had it, so he probably respects a little bit more. But Sean McVay, the way he kind of spoke about, hey, listen, man, I have to be a better leader around here about doing this sort of stuff, and kind of calling himself out. I think there's a way that, to your point, like you can be transparent about these things, and I think if you strike a right sort of tone that you're taking this seriously and you respect what's going on around the world about all this. Like it won't be awkward. I think you make it awkward when you try to deflect and not talk about what's going on. But
yeah, and I'm not saying he will. I mean, we don't know that. I think he probably won't. I think he'll be upfront. He's been pretty upfront about everything. And if it's true, if he does have it, he would tell us. He might say, yes, a player on the team has tested positive.
Right.
He might not identify the person, even though that person identified himself. But enough about that.
Right. Yeah. He's a good coach. I mean, that's what matters. Like the X and O side of it, he'll get the PR stuff down one of these days. You never, listen, man, the Florida State job, it's tough to be ready for with all the questions and the scrutiny of it. But his offensive lineman, who transferred in here from FIU, Devontae Love-Taylor, had some real strong praise from him. And you've been hinting at this the last few days, just with the way certain players that James was talking about, just the whole sort of big picture way they do things about knowing what the defense is trying to do, take away from you, and how they're going to do it. Devontae Love-Taylor kind of took that even up another notch just in terms of the praise he poured on the staff, right? Genius, he called.
Yeah, Devontae Love-Taylor on Wednesday called Norvell a genius.
He's like a genius.
He's like a genius because he was asked about playing in Norvell's offense. And he's like, yeah, man, he's just like a genius. And then he went on to talk about, how he watches film and everything else. And then I went back to him and said, you said your coach is a genius or like a genius. What can you give us an example? Like, what do you mean by that? And he just talked about, again, like watching film. He's like, I watched film of Memphis. We'd watch film. He'd watch film of a Memphis play. He'd see the check that Norvell tells him to make in the Memphis game, and he'd see it work. And then he goes and does it in a practice at Florida State, and it busts for a 30-yard. He goes, it's like he knows what the defense is going to do, and he knows why they're doing it all the time. The defense did exactly what he said they were going to do. And you could tell Devontae Love-Taylor, at least, was very impressed with his new head coach.
Yeah, I think that was probably the highlight from him. Kept it on the transfer train, Jarian Jones. Gosh, I want to call him Jarian, but it doesn't.
Yeah, man, it's hard not to
Jarian.
call him Jarian. It just
Joel.
seems like Jarrian would be Jarian, but it's Jarian, which is jarring to say.
Yeah. Probably also jarring to have to cover Tamori and Terry, but they just call him Terry.
Yeah, or
right?
Scary Terry.
Just call him Scary Terry. He also had some pretty good praise for what's going on around the program now. It's DBU. Florida State's DBU. I think that's like that is the political platitude of college football players. If you're a defensive back, just call your university DBU, and you will just get instant adoration.
But there's really,
adulation.
I think LSU could have a claim for it, and I think Florida State and maybe Ohio State. Maybe there's somebody. It's not Florida. I would say either Florida State or LSU. I mean, come on, man. It's close, but when you have the best cornerback of all time that came from your program, I think that if it's a tie, that gives you the edge. So Florida State's DBU. Come on. Jalen's still in the league. Derwin James, T-Buck, you heard of him? Come on, man. But Patrick Peterson's really darn good. So's the Honey Badger. Anyway, he talked about – I thought what he talked about, we think that the DB unit is good. They haven't performed great.
Very good, I think.
Part of that has been the pass rush up front, but they did not have a good year by any stretch of the imagination last year. But Jarian Jones, talking about them, said when he was asked about the competition between the secondary, he's like, look, anybody that has a DB by their name on their roster could play for anyone in the country. Now, I think that might be a bit of hyperbole, but probably not by much. Like, I'm sure he thinks he can. Akeem Dent can. Obviously, Asante can. Nasruddin can. Raymond Woody apparently makes an interception every day. He's forgotten. Like I literally keep. He's like the defensive version of Pokey. Like until I see Pokey making a catch, I forget he's on the team, and that's no shot. That's a shot at me, not a shot at him. He's had enough big moments that I should remember the kids on the team, but I always forget about him, and I always forget about Raymond Woody. But I mean, they're loaded in the secondary, and yeah, he said the reason he came was he knew Norvell and he knew Woodson because they recruited him out of high school. And it's always nice. Like I wonder, to go on a complete tangent, do you think the transfer portal has completely changed the way college football coaches take bad news when a kid tells them he's not coming? Like if Mike Norvell, let's say he loses out to a 4-star running back this year, the kid tells him he's going to Miami. He's like, all right, man, great. Good luck at Miami, man. They haven't won anything ever. This is the dumbest decision of your life, and you're going to always regret it. You can't really talk like that anymore because the kid in a year might say, you know what, I want to go to Florida State. I made a mistake. It's just I feel like the college football coaches probably take bad recruiting news, even if they want to strangle the kid. They have to take it a little better, and they can't get their feelings that hurt because they know in a year he might be coming anyway. But anyway.
How about the guy on Hard Knocks? Finally, how many years of Hard Knocks have they had? I feel like 2001. That was like the year.
Yeah, it was the year after the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was
so 02
like,
maybe
20 years now, 19 seasons or whatever. And I can't remember anybody getting mad when they get cut. It's always like this real professional sort of. Okay,
thank you for your time.
Yeah,
thank
thanks.
you.
Really appreciate it, Coach. How about that tight end for the Chargers? Just like this is bullshit.
Yeah. What did he say? Like, are you effing kidding me?
Yeah.
Or so, I know he dropped an F-bomb. I couldn't remember what context, but it's like he couldn't believe it was real. Like, he came to the office like he looked like he wanted to fight.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, absolutely, man. And then you saw the coach was like, yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I like that little fight. It's like, all right, well, you should probably cut everyone and see how they react. Now everybody that gets cut is going to be like, you want to go?
Yeah.
You want to go now? Are you kidding me? Come here, and jumps over the desk.
I like how he said to the GM. He's like, he's got to chill out a little bit though. He ain't Antonio Gates. It's like, man, like know your lane, buddy. But
but hey, he made an impression.
He did.
So Jarian Jones, when he was talking about why he came to Florida State, he said that he had a really good relationship with Norvell and Woodson when they were recruiting him out of high school, even though he chose Mississippi State. And then, a year or two later, or whatever it is, they're at Florida State, which is a better program than Mississippi State. And he gets to go play for them. And he said Marv was a big deal, too.
Yeah.
Chris Marv, who was at Mississippi State, who he said was a father figure, became kind of a father figure for them in Starkville. So that was obviously a big deal. And then, he said, he talked about the DBs. He's like, why wouldn't a DB want to come here? It's DBU. So
he's pretty good. There were some clips of him flashing on the latest,
yeah, he made a couple highlights.
Yeah. Again, that's courtesy of Florida State Sports Information Department. We're not present at practice, so that's the extent of the video that we do get. Let's keep it with the transfers because that's who we all spoke to. Jordan Wilson. That was a pretty good interview. I feel like. What is he? He's the one that was characterized as a large human being that runs well, or something like that, from Mike Norvell. I mean, he's got to be pretty stoked that he was able to kind of dodge a bullet at UCLA. I liked him embracing Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson's my guy. For as much as somebody can be your guy when you only covered 3 practices, it was good to hear him kind of embrace the old school approach that Chris Thompson has. So it sounds like he's willing to work. So there's
Ira, by the way, corrected me on Seminole Headlines that apparently we talk about Chris Thompson as if he's like Angela Lansbury's dad, like that he's 130 years old. He's only 51.
He's got a bad hairline. Love you, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Chris. I'm not, I can't. Really.
I feel like because he's been an interim head coach. He's been in a bunch of different places. I thought he was around 60.
Right.
Not that that's ancient to all our above 55 listeners. But yeah, he's 51, and so he wanted to. And plus, Ira's almost 51, so he doesn't like being pigeonholed as to being a really old person. So I guess he's the oldest on the staff, but that doesn't mean he's an old person for like Earth.
I almost want to kind of double back a little bit to the whole like genius comment that.
Oh, no, but you were talking about Jordan Wilson, and I think that's even more interesting than the Devontae Love-Taylor. Did you not? When he was talking about playing Memphis?
I didn't hear that first part because I was having to upload some stuff.
So they played Memphis when he was in 2017. They were number 25 in the country. Rosen was their quarterback. They went to Memphis and lost 48-45. And so he talked about, when he was asked about why he chose Florida State, he's like, look, I remember playing Memphis and Coach Norvell, and he goes, I couldn't get over how hard they played. And then Ira went back, because Ira's Ira. He went back. It's like, hey, I watched that game that you played. And Jordan Wilson actually had a touchdown in that game. Yeah. And I don't believe he had many at UCLA, but that was one. And he's like, I watched that game. That looked like a great atmosphere. What did you think of his team? What do you remember about that game? And he goes, just their defense was relentless. And then, as I pointed out in my column, they were relentless, but they gave up 45 points. So I could understand how people might roll their eyes at that comment, but it's Memphis. They don't have a ton of great defensive players, especially back then, and not many at all on the defensive front. But he said he was blown away, like literally blown away. Not literally, he didn't fly off the field. He was blown away about how hard they played for him. That's something that stuck out with him. And then also when he would watch the game from the sidelines, when the UCLA defense was on the field, how much Norvell attacked. And he just loved that style. He loved how hard they played for him because it told him that the players were bought in. So I thought that was really illuminating.
He caught 2 touchdowns in his career. Both were in the 17 season.
Okay, so half of his touchdowns came against Norvell's defense.
There you go. Not Adam Fuller's defense. So
correct.
So that's to be noted. Moving along, next person was Fabian Lovett. Fabian kept it pretty quick, pretty business, right?
Yeah, he did. But he was asked about Odell. We get asked about Odell a lot because I guess there's a faction of the fan base that thinks he needs to go, and so he was asked about working with Odell, and he's like, I see what all the fuss was about. Like I see everything everybody said about him is true. The little things to him are major, and he always stays on them. He's like, other coaches will say it, but they won't embrace it. He's like, he embraces getting on to you over and over again if he has to about little things, and just basically said he sees what everybody was talking about. He thinks they're going to be the best defensive line in the country. Devontae Love-Taylor said that as well, that he thinks they're going to be. And hey, half the country is not playing, so the odds of them being the best defensive line in the country just went up. So yeah, he didn't talk a ton about his decision to come to Florida State. We know the reason he left Starkville was a tweet and the head coach that's there now. But he did say that it helped that Jarian Jones was on the roster too, or thinking about coming to Florida State, and that Odell was going to be his position coach, and everybody's treated him like family. Aslan.
We're just in such a weird place right now, Corey. I'm sorry to kind of maybe bring it full circle almost at the beginning of the show.
Okay, I can't wait
for this. Just, obviously this program's had its struggles here the last 3 years. Underachieved greatly in 17, and then, 18 and 19 obviously go without saying. And there's some people have posted threads on the tribal council about, are you excited for football season? I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. There's a lot to really, truly feel good about with this team. I really feel like that, man. But I don't know, this sort of looming decision, will it happen, will it not happen? I'm going back and just looking at some of the notes you made with your lightning quick stenographer skills. Is that what we would call it?
Yeah, sure. I'm a stenographer.
I mean, think about, Devontae Love-Taylor, spoke about Joshua Kando and,
that was another one I'm glad you brought up.
Yeah, I mean, the way he talked about Kando, the one clip, again, it's, one clip in a video, but the first day that Florida State put footage out, and again, they weren't even in pads that day, I don't think. But, man, like Kando he looked like, I don't know, man. I mean, there's somebody on Hard Knocks. I'm like, I should have said that he looked like him instead of Von Taylor. Joey Bosa, yeah.
Von Miller.
Yeah. Did I say
You
what I
said
say?
You said Von Taylor. Who was that?
I don't know. Levante Taylor, maybe.
Oh, okay. I see a mistake.
Missy Levante.
Right.
Yeah, Joey Bosa. I mean, he's huge and like just running the way he ran off the edge. And then you heard him the other day about, my goal is to go pro. And like I need to play this season so I can get tape. So like he realizes it. Like, he knows what's all on the line for him. And if he's in physical shape, which I think he is, I mean, in terms of his healing. Man, like he could be a real difference maker on this great defensive line with Marvin and Durden and Lovett and Cooper, and J-Rob also kind of in the same boat with Joshua Kando. You hear them talking about this coach as a genius. Like I don't think Norvell is the tactician that Saban is or Kirby is. I don't think he is the recruiter that Dabo is. But he's like 39. Norvell?
Who? Yeah.
38.
Sorry, I was looking at. Apparently, there's a Von Taylor who committed a double murder 30 years ago in Salt Lake City. So that was the only Von Taylor that I could find.
So that means I'm past the statute of limitations in my involvement in that, right?
Sure. Yeah, when you were 7.
But it's
yes. Norvell is a young coach, and man, I'm telling you, I'm not lying either. I'm with you. You hear the stuff about Kando. You obviously hear the stuff about Terry. But I can't stress it enough how these players talk about their coach. Coach is. They're if they're not well coached, it'll be I won't even be able to describe the frustration and sadness if we go out there and see 9 guys on punt coverage again or 16 penalties a game. Like it's just going to break my heart because. Man, the way these guys talk, not only their resumes, which are all good, especially Norvell's, just what he did at Memphis, but the fact that these players talk so highly of them. And I'm telling you, we didn't get that for Jimbo. Maybe back in the day he was called a genius and we all play hard and all that, but you didn't hear that kind of talk from these guys. And maybe it was because they were with Willie, so now they appreciate it more. But man, if they're as well coached as they seem like they're going to be, along with the talent they have, because they do have talent everywhere but up front, and even there maybe they've got some guys that can play. Man, it could be a fun year. It could be a fun year to cover Florida State football. And I can't tell you it was fun to watch Dalvin Cook, but I wouldn't call the 16 season fun. And the 15 season had Golson. That wasn't a great time either. Dalvin was fun to watch. It would be cool to watch Florida State be fun again.
I was going to actually go to that organically. Like I was thinking about compare this team to 16. Other than Dalvin, I mean this team would stack up fairly closely to them, and you have an engaged, competent staff. 17 obviously Jimbo gave you all he had for the preseason and 2 weeks of the regular season, and that was a wrap. But I mean I just Noddy versus Marvin Wilson. I mean, I think Marvin's probably going to go higher in the draft than Noddy.
Marvin's a better college football player than Derek Noddy was.
Yeah, I don't even know who played by his side in 16. I can't even think of it right now, which is terrible. I should probably pause and pull it up. But I think
it was your Jacoby McDaniel.
No,
Bud Thacker. I think Bud Thacker was on that group. Kendrick Stewart was doing backflips.
But yeah, I mean. Is that a fair sort of thing to look at? Maybe look at 16, although you can't account for Dalvin. There's nothing as close to Dalvin, but maybe what Terry can do at the receiver position is more dynamic than Kermit and Bobo and Travis Rudolph.
Yeah, no, I think just because of Terry, I think the receivers will be better because I just think they were fine players. They were okay, but Rudolph was the best of those 3, but none of those guys were special college football players. I don't think that you would. I think Keyshawn Helton can do what Bobo Wilson could do or what Kermit could do. Maybe not as fast, but he can do that. Terry is somebody they didn't have. Yeah, Terry's maybe could be the Dalvin Cook of this team. Just 120 yards a game, can't cover them, leaves your mouth agape. Just don't be around people that are coughing when your mouth is agape. But he's going to do that. He's going to do that every game. Yeah, man, I can see that. The quarterback play, Francois was pretty darn good in 16, and that's what you wonder about. Is and the offensive line wasn't this bad. It wasn't good, but it was mediocre, which is worlds better than what we've seen the past 2 years. So if the offensive line can get to just mediocre or average, then yeah, I think this could be as good as the 16 team for sure, which isn't saying a ton. But, I mean, there's talent, man, and there's some experienced talent.
I'm thinking about, like, compare 16 to the past 2 seasons, El Paso and nothing to an Orange Bowl win against Michigan, beating Miami, beating Florida.
The Florida game was probably, I thought, maybe their most impressive game of the season. Maybe other than Michigan, but bowl games are different. But, that Miami game was just bizarre, and Miami didn't turn out to be very good. They block an extra point. They lost that awful game to North Carolina. They got embarrassed by Louisville. There was some bad moments. And the team, again, they had to promise to try harder, stuff like that. Oh, by the way, another defensive lineman that played with Noddy was DeMarcus Christmas.
I'm about to say, I'm ready. Are you ready to hear the defensive tackles that were on the roster in 16? Are you ready?
Let's hear it. So we start with Noddy, then we have DeMarcus Christmas. Then go.
Wally May.
Oh, yeah, the Wolverine. How do we forget the Wolverine?
Keith Bryant.
Okay.
Fred Jones.
Yep.
Justin Shanks.
Yep.
Darvin Taylor.
Okay.
You said DeMarcus Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Arthur Williams. Cedric Wood.
All right, so some misses in there.
And like that, that defensive line wasn't like bad by any stretch, but obviously, old D-Walk, DeMarcus Walker was a pretty nice piece of that defensive line too. But yeah, I mean, Josh Kando has potential to probably. DeMarcus Walker had a really good senior season. He had a really. I don't want to downplay or diminish that at all.
Oh no, DeMarcus Walker was incredible in 16. He and Dalvin were two of the best players in the country.
Yeah, I mean, what he did in the Ole Miss game, totally changed the entire complexion of that game. But yeah, man, like Josh Kando and this mix of defensive tackles, and then J-Rob on the other side. I mean, figure it out, whatever, man. I think that's almost better than what we just kind of rattled off there. And the receivers. Feel a little bit better about that. 2016 offensive line wasn't the most heralded. Dalvin made them look a lot better than they really were. DeAndre obviously, though, probably a little bit of a upgrade over what that's on the roster right now as well. But it's just, if you have a staff, again, I think that's what maybe we should start looking at that almost to be the judge of what this team can be, but maybe a lot of it too also depends on the whole fact that this team has not won.
Yeah, and that was the point I was going to make that you saw coming a mile away, and I'm sure the listeners did too. Was again that team was made up of guys that had been a part of a 29-game winning streak, and then the next year in a down year, they made another New Year's Six game, and their only loss, ACC loss, other than to Clemson, who almost won the national championship, was on a block kick. So that team, again, I say it too much, but that team knew how to win. And not only that, expected to win. And this team does not. Maybe they expect to win, but they don't know how to do it yet until they do. And that team had that. The 16 team at least had that going for it.
But isn't there – how much of that, though, is, culture and just what Mike Norvell and this staff is going to bring? I mean, the way these guys are talking about this staff, like that – That's the confidence, right? That's a confidence when you're up by 4 and the other team's got the ball in the 50 with like a minute left and a timeout or two. I mean, the defense is like, hey, man, we're attacking. We can make plays. We can end this game right now. We don't have to sit here and eat the blocks for our underachieving linebackers to make plays, and they're not going to, and just watch us die a slow death. It's just
man, I'm telling you, well, it has to start somewhere, and you the only way you learn how to win is to win. And you win by being well coached and having a lot of talent. And we know we think they're going to be well coached. We know they have talent in some places. I every day we talk to these guys, I get more encouraged by what we could see in the fall. If there is a fall, I think they're going to be a good team, man. Not a great team. They're not challenging for championships. They're not going to win the whatever we're going to call it, the Big Sack title. Isn't that what people are calling this 3-team conference thing, 3-conference season?
I thought it was a triad.
No, because you got the Big 12, you got the SEC, and the ACC. So the Big BIG and then
Sack.
SAC, the Big Sack. So I don't think they're winning a Big Sack title.
Tasteful.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm not taking it to the gutter. I'm just using, the lettering. But I think they can win 7 or 8 games easily. I really do. Maybe easy's not. Easy's too strong. See, I'm getting too far. I'm getting too ahead of myself.
Let's go, Corey. Let's believe it, man.
But you look at those Memphis games. They rarely got blown out. They were in almost every game that they lost, and they won a lot. And if he can instill that here with this kind of talent, man, they got NFL guys on this team, and if they believe in their coaches, really believe in them, man, they can win 7. They can go 7-3 or 8-2. No, it wouldn't be. Nobody would be stunned by that. I don't think. 10-0, we might be a little stunned. And I'm saying that because I assume Samford's not going to be on the schedule. They might be, though. We'll see.
Why? Why do you think what's wrong with Samford? What's wrong with the Bullies, the Bulldogs?
I just think the way I think at the end of when all this is said and done, I'm assuming there's going to be maybe 4 conferences left, and it won't be an FCS one.
There's some nuggets for you folks to check out over on warchant.com after the ACC presidents had a vote. Or one I think might be coming up, actually. I think, it's happening on Thursday. I apologize. It didn't happen. But our own GeneWilliams.com, happy belated birthday, boss, has some pretty interesting information that's posted on there. Some teams possibly. So that's the thing. Just after all that good vibes that we just gave you, is there could be some schools that actually decide to opt out. I mean, not teams, but not players, rather, but whole teams, even in the conference. He did throw something in here that I will say that, this stuff is usually for the subscribers, but, just because. Was told that Barry Alvarez is actively looking to schedule games for Wisconsin, sounding more and more like multiple Big Ten programs may go against the conference and proceed with playing some games.
Well, Nebraska obviously
I thought Nebraska got
wants to.
shot down. Didn't they get shot down?
No. I mean, how can you shoot them down? No, who's going to tell them not to? I know the Big Ten wasn't happy about it.
I thought the Big Ten commissioner told them, don't even think about it.
No. How can you do that? You can't do that. If Nebraska wants to play an exhibition, they can play an exhibition. Who are you to tell them no? What are you going to kick them out?
Well,
You got to not let them play next year?
Well, it's like
Come on, man.
Like,
but Ohio State, man, did you see Ryan Day's press conference?
No, but I heard he got told to sit down by Gene
But
Smith.
he was irate. And this was a day later. He was irate that they shut it down. Now, maybe he's doing that for recruiting and for his players. But I think, obviously college football coaches want to coach and they want a season. And what he was irate with was we still haven't heard anything, not word one, about a spring season and when it would start and how it would start. Which is his way of letting us all know they are kicking this down the road until they call it off in February. And he's trying to get out ahead of that to say we don't want that again. We don't want to train for the next 5 months because they can still practice 20 hours a week. We don't want to train for the next 4 or 5 months to be then told again, no, you're not playing. If he wants to start in January, like January 3rd, and then play through March, I guess would be his inclination. But not that he's calling the shots, but he was very mad. They're all mad, and yeah, man, there's a chance that stuff could happen, and there's also there's a chance that schools would opt out. But number one, you're not getting any money if you opt out, none. And
with friends like you, Corey. With friends
hey, man,
like
that's if you're going to just pack it in and go home, then you don't deserve any of the money. It's all right. You're not kicked out of the conference, although maybe I would if I was the commissioner. If it was BC, just give me a reason, BC. Just give me a reason. Please opt out. Please, that's what I'd be if I was Swafford. Please opt out. Come on, just tell me you're going to opt out. You can do it because we're kicking you to the curb if you do. And we're bringing in Nebraska. But yeah, so if a team opts out, which I guess could be the case, then you just reschedule the games. All right, everybody that was playing BC, we'll figure it out. You're playing somebody else now.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be that difficult to pivot off of. I don't think if teams opt out, I don't think it's the end of the world. After you brought the governor on your campus and your university president's also by his side, and you're like, we're going to play football, a lot of bad things have to happen for you to not play football. And I don't think 15 kids testing positive is going to would sink the boat. I don't think 2 teams in the ACC opting out would sink the boat. They want to play. They're going to play. I mean, I can't see what would make them stop. This is from our parent company, Yahoo. The Big Ten commissioner is Kevin Warren. I haven't brought a lot of energy today. I'm sorry, everybody. The recruiting chats take it out of me. I love you guys.
Nice. You love it, though. You love doing it. It's just work.
Well, I just mean like you got to perform. I have to perform for that.
Right.
And it's
right.
it's hard to
Understood.
it's hard to do a. Man, sometimes it's thought about, I really want to be a rock star, but I couldn't sing or play an instrument. But how grueling is it to really be a big-time band and tour? Like just sleeping on buses, getting drunk, waking up, doing it over, like 20 cities in, 24 days?
Imagine being Don Henley and singing Hotel California again. I mean... you would just want to stab yourself with your drumstick. Just choke yourself with it. I just can't imagine, because they're all going to cheer, because that's the song they want the most. And it's you know what, MFers, I've written 400 other songs. I've been singing this thing for 40 years, 45 years. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it, but you got to sing it.
Because you're going to
sing it.
You're going to go home to your palatial estate because of that.
Yeah,
song.
I mean, there's a trade-off for sure. But you talk about going through the motions. Come on, man. You think he gets fired? Oh, guys, just wait. 2 songs. We're going to be playing Hotel California. I can't wait. Let's see if I get it right. Let's see if I can remember the words.
Lastly, our parent company, Yahoo, Pete Thamel, Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner. When asked specifically by Yahoo if Nebraska could play college football this fall, he gave an answer that would make his hardline predecessor nod with approval. That would be Jim Delaney. No, he said firmly, not and be a member of the Big Ten Conference.
I would love to know the language. I would love to know the language in that contract because, it's not like Nebraska would have a hard time finding a landing spot.
Well, I think there's TV partners and stuff, right? Like, is ESPN going to piss off the Big Ten by cutting a check to Nebraska to keep playing football? That's going to anger the Big Ten. That's going to deteriorate that relationship.
Oh, well. Right. Maybe they can get another Maryland. That was a great pickup. Oh, Rutgers. You got Rutgers and Maryland, man. Those were great pickups.
That Jersey, New York City footprint, man.
Man, you kidding me with all the eyeballs? That's the biggest travesty in all this, Aslan, is all those huge New Jersey college football fans don't get to watch football in the fall. That's ridiculous. I feel bad for all of them.
I can feel the sincerity. I mean, hopefully we have some folks in Jersey that listen to it.
Does it bother? I mean, how inexplicable is it, man, that Rutgers makes more money from college football than Florida Effin State? How inexplicably idiotic is that? That should get everybody. That should just anger everyone, even people in New Jersey. Wait, that can't be true. That's not right, is it? What? They make almost twice. What? No, they don't. They make more money than Clemson and Florida State. And if it keeps going the way it's been going, although I think we've hit a big-time bubble here that's burst, but if it had kept going the way it was going, Rutgers might have made as much as Florida State and Clemson combined in TV football revenue. And there hasn't been more than 40 people from outside, 40 people, period, that have tuned in to watch a Rutgers game, ever. Nobody watches Rutgers football. Can you name, right now, before we go, and then we're off the air, 3 Rutgers football players?
Of all time or right now?
Right now.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Can you name 5 all time? Can you name 3 all time?
Yeah. It's cheating, though. It's the McCourty twins and then Ray Rice.
Right. They had Ray Rice. Yes. Yeah, Ray Rice is the one. There's they won. It's like Coming to America. Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano. That's the Rutgers guy. They're always going to bring up Ray Rice.
Hey, let's do this again tomorrow. We'll take everybody's questions. Renegade Express, the thread is already up on the Tribal Council. We already have some good questions.
Aslan's going to bring it tomorrow, too.
I'm going to bring it. We're going to speak again to Mike Norvell and players. Hopefully we'll have some more time with Coach. We had a little bit of a late start on Wednesday, and he had a meeting to catch at noon, so we weren't able to get a long amount of time. But it'll certainly flesh out some pretty interesting information, I would think, because The whole DJ Matthews situation is something to keep an eye on. And we will over on warchant.com. Use that promo code Norvell2020 for 25% off an annual membership, $25 e-card at Garnet and Gold, and 3 free months of warchant.com. We'll be back tomorrow. He's Corey Maslin. Thanks so much for listening.